She was 89 years old. She had sat across from thousands of people in that chair, marriages falling apart. Couples who swore they'd never be like their parents, and became them anyway. People who were brilliant, kind, self-aware. People who read every book on love. People who knew better, and every single one of them, every last one, had the same pattern, not a similar pattern. The same one. I don't mean they all cheated, or all fought about money, or all had the same communication style. I mean something deeper than that. Something underneath all of those things. A mechanism that was running quietly in every relationship that didn't make it. She told me about it on a Tuesday afternoon. She spoke slowly. She wasn't dramatic about it. And I haven't looked at a relationship the same way since. Here's the version of this story you already know. Two people fall in love. Things are good. Then things get hard. They fight more than they used to. The connection starts to feel like work. One person pulls away. The other chases. Or they both pull away. Or they stay, but they stop really seeing each other. You try to fix it. You have a big conversation. You agree to do better. Things improve for a little while, and then it slides back, and you don't understand why. Because you're not a bad person, and they're not bad people, and you both want this to work, but something keeps happening that neither of you can quite name. Maybe you've told yourself it was bad timing, or incompatibility, or that you just grew apart. Maybe you've watched your parents do the same thing. Maybe you promised yourself you'd be different. Maybe you were different at first. If any of that landed somewhere familiar in your chest, stay with me, because what this therapist described isn't about the fights you're having. It's about what you're both doing between the fights, in the quiet moments, on ordinary Tuesday evenings. That's where the pattern lives. She told me about a couple she'd seen for nearly 2 years. They came to her after their third attempt at restarting things. Smart people, genuinely loved each other, had done the work, or thought they had. They'd read the books. They knew the words: attachment, vulnerability, emotional availability. They could use all of it correctly in a sentence, but they kept ending up in the same place, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. Not fighting, just distant. Like two people in the same room who had quietly agreed to stop trying without either of them actually saying so. Here's what she noticed. Every time one of them tried to get close, and I don't mean physically, I mean every time one of them offered something real, something that cost them something, the other one didn't respond to it. Not because they didn't care, because they didn't notice it. A small moment of reaching. A quiet admission. A joke that was actually a question. A touch that was actually "I miss you." And the other person, without meaning to, without realizing it, would be somewhere else. Scrolling. Answering. Already halfway into the next thought. Not cruel. Not checked out on purpose. Just not there for the bid. She called them bids. The small, constant, often invisible attempts we make to connect with the people we love. And here's what will change how you see every relationship you've ever been in. She said in every relationship that fell apart. Every single one she'd ever worked with, the failure didn't happen in the big dramatic moments. It happened in the small ones. It happened in the 10,000 tiny moments where one person reached out and the other one missed it. And here's the part that should sit uncomfortably with you for a minute. Most of the time, you don't even know you're reaching. And most of the time, the other person doesn't know they missed it. The relationship doesn't end in a fight. It erodes, quietly, in the gaps between what one person meant and what the other person heard. Why does this keep happening? Even to people who love each other. That's the part she explained that changed everything. By the time I finish this next part, you'll never be able to look at a quiet moment in your relationship the same way again. Here's what no one ever tells you about connection. We think of love as a feeling that either exists or it doesn't. We think of relationships as either working or not working. We talk about compatibility like it's a fixed thing, like two people either fit or they don't. But here's what that actually means. Once you've sat in a chair watching thousands of relationships from the inside, connection isn't a feeling. It's a practice. And it's a practice made up of moments so small that we've trained ourselves to look right past them. The bid isn't always obvious. It's not always "I need you right now." Sometimes it's "Look at this thing I found." Sometimes it's a sigh in the kitchen that's really a question. Sometimes it's laughter at something stupid on TV that's really an invitation to laugh together. And the response, the miss, isn't always cold. Sometimes it's just a few seconds too slow. A head that doesn't turn quite fast enough. A reply that answers the words, but not the thing underneath the words. She told me about a man she'd worked with for years. His wife left after 19 years of marriage. Good man. Devoted father. He was devastated. He genuinely didn't understand what had happened. He said to her, "I was always there. I never went anywhere." And she said to him, gently, "Being in the room is not the same as being present." He cried for 20 minutes. Not because she was cruel. Because he knew exactly what she meant. He could trace it all the way back. The dinners where he was technically there, but mentally at work. The weekends where his body was home, but his attention was somewhere else. The hundreds of moments his wife had quietly reached for him and got in the back of his head. He hadn't been absent in the way we usually mean it. He'd been absent in the way that doesn't get a name. The kind that's easy to justify. The kind that looks, from the outside, like a stable, functional relationship, until one day it simply isn't anymore. Here's the confession part. The uncomfortable one. Most of us have been on both sides of this. We've reached for someone and felt the sting of being missed. And we've been the one who missed it, who was somewhere else when someone we loved needed us to be right there. The pattern isn't about bad people or broken people or people who stopped loving each other. It's about two people who never learned to catch each other in the small moments, who were waiting for the big ones, who thought love was something you declared, not something you do 16 times before dinner. The most dangerous lie we tell ourselves in relationships is, we're fine. Nothing big is wrong. Because the big things don't break most relationships. The accumulation of small misses does. Not roughly. Exactly. She said the couples who stayed together, the ones who actually thrived, weren't the ones with better communication skills or fewer problems or more compatible personalities. They were the ones who had learned to turn toward each other in the small moments. Consistently. Imperfectly. But consistently. That's it. That's the whole thing. Not grand gestures. Not better arguments. Not longer conversations about feelings. The turn toward. The head that moves when someone enters the room. The question that actually waits for an answer. The phone that goes face down, not because you were asked to, but because you know it matters. These are not small things pretending to be big things. These are the actual building materials of closeness. And here's what's real. You can want someone with everything you have and still slowly lose them. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you got so comfortable with their presence that you stopped noticing their attempts. Most people figure this out too late. After the distance is already there. After the reaching has slowed down. Because being missed so many times quietly taught the other person to stop trying. That's when it starts to feel like incompatibility. But it was never incompatible. It was just two people who had each, in their own way, quietly given up on the small moments. The relationship doesn't announce when it starts. And it doesn't announce when it starts to hollow out. It just does. One missed bit at a time. So here's where this leaves you. Not with a list. Not with homework. Not with a framework to memorize. With one question. Think about the last 24 hours with the person you love or the person you want to love better. How many times did they reach? And how many times did you actually catch it? Not how many times did you mean well. How many times did you actually turn toward them? If the answer is uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is useful. It means you still care. It means there's still something to work with. The 89-year-old therapist didn't tell me that relationships are fragile. She told me they're made of moments. Ordinary, unremarkable, easy to miss moments. And the people who understand that, who really, viscerally understand it, they stop waiting for the relationship to feel broken before they pay attention to it. They start paying attention now. In the kitchen, in the car, in the 10 minutes before they fall asleep, they catch each other there. In the small, that's where love either lives or slowly disappears. You already know which one you want. The question is what you're going to do in the next ordinary moment you have with someone who matters to you. And if you want to understand why we stop catching each other, the psychological reason we start drifting, even when we don't mean to, that's exactly what the next video gets into. Because the drift doesn't start with coldness. It starts with something much more surprising. And once you see it, you'll understand yourself and the people you love in a completely different way.